In today's video, we are going to see how we can configure Dynamic NAT. In our last video, we configured Static NAT, in which we saw that we have to statically bind each private IP with the public IP. In this video, we will see how we can dynamically make these bindings, and we are using the same topology that we used in our previous video, but we will do some minor changes to it. For example, the first thing that we need to do is we need to change our outgoing the NAT outside interface. Since we were using a /30 subnet mask, if we are going to use a dynamic NAT, we will need an IP pool. So we need to have room in our network ID that we are using on our NAT outside interface. So those IPs which are not being used, they can be used as a pool to provide dynamic bindings to our private IPs. So what we are going to do is everything will remain the same. We will remove the static bindings, and we will just change the network ID of our outgoing interface. So let's do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go into the serial 0 interface, and we're going to change the network ID, IP address, and 1.1, and instead of a /30 we're using a /29 address, and this will give us a total of 8 IP addresses, and out of which 2 will be used on our point-to-point links, and the 4 remaining will be used in the pool that will be used for dynamic NAT configuration. So the network ID has been changed on this one. So let's also change the network ID on our internet routers. So go to the configuration mode and then into the serial 00 interface and give the IP address command .2, and the subnet mask would be .248. So that's all for this configuration. Another step that we have to do before moving forward is to delete the previous static bindings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these entries, and then I'm going to paste them in our note, and you can also use a notepad for that. And I'm just going to do some editing here and include a no to cancel out our commands, as we know. So I'm just going to place no before these commands, and so this is to save some time, so we don't have to type all these commands by ourselves. So let's go back to the router and then do the global configuration mode, and then do a paste, and there you go. So if you right now, if we gave a do show run, yeah, there are no entries here. So the first step that we have to do in configuring dynamic NAT is we have to make a IP pool that will be used for dynamic bindings that will contain public IP addresses. Okay, and the another thing that we have to do is we have to make a list of the IPs, that the private IPs specifically, that we have to permit for this binding. So let's do that. First, let's make a pool, and the pool can be made with IP NAT inside, if you remember. and sorry, not inside IP NAT, and here we have three options, and we use the inside option earlier. Right now we will be using the pool option. So pool and question mark, and then we have to give name. So for example, I'm just going to give it my pool, and then we have to give the pool's starting IP address. So since we're using 1.1.1.1 and 2 for our point-to-point links, I'm going to go from 3 to 1.1.1.6. so we have 4 IPs, and the next thing we have to give is the word net mask, and the next we have to provide the actual subnet mask. So 255.255.248. Okay, so that will make our pool. Then we have to make a list. So we will be making a standard list because we just want to permit our networks 10, 20 and 30 that are running in our VLANs and nothing else. So we will be making a standard list, and we will permit, and then we have to give the IP address 192.168 and specifically the network ID, and then at the end wildcard mask. So we want to allow the whole network, so the wildcard mask would be 0.0.0.255. that means that we want to permit host from 192.168.10.0 to 255. So this 0 and this 255 means that we are including the whole network. So press enter, and then we just press the up arrow and write 20, and then the last network ID, that is 30. Okay, so the basics are done. We have a pool, a public IP pool, and we have a list on which we want to apply these bindings, and now we will configure how these bindings will be applied to these private IPs in the list using Dynamic NAT. So let's do that. IP NAT, and then again we will go for inside, and then we will go for source, and in our last video we used static, but now we will be using list, and list after that we will be given two options for a word list or a numeric list. We use a numeric list and the list number was 10. Next we have to give pool or interface. We used interface previously, but right now we will be using a pool of IP addresses. So we will provide pool, and then we have to give the name of the pool, and we named our pool simply my pool, and after that we just have to press enter, and there you go. So in this way we can dynamically apply the netting or the bindings on our private IPs using a list and a pool of public IPs. Okay, so let's check, for example, do show IP translation. So right now we won't be getting any do show IP NAT translations. So right now we don't have anything. Why? Because there isn't any translation done right now. So let's go to a PC and apply the command. So there you go. If we pinged 8.8.8, there's a reply. So let's go back to our router and give the command again, and as you can see our 10.3 IP was converted into 1.1.3 IP. So we didn't provide the binding just like in our static, but it was done from the pool that we provided. In this pool, which contained 1.1.1.326, that means 3, 4, 5 and 6, 4 IPs are there. Okay, so as soon as we go for the second, if there isn't any other problem, it should also ping, but the translation should be different one. Yeah, there you go. So the second translation from 2 was done using the IP 1.1.1.4. Same way, if we go to the third one, ping 8.8.8, and we see the translation again, and this would be a 5, and then again if we give ping.8.8.8.8, and there would also be a ping, and if we go for the translation it would be, yeah, there you go, we started from 3, and then we have 4, and then we have 5 and 6. Okay, so in this way we can dynamically configure NAT, and it can automatically bind our public IPs to the pool of our private IPs to the pool of the public IPs that we provided. But there is a drawback to this dynamic NAT, and what's that is that, for example, if we use all the IPs, and how we can do that, for example, I'm going to just run the pings on all the devices. Remember, we have 4 IPs in our pool, 4 public IPs, and since I'm doing ping on all the 4 IPs, on all 4 PCs, every PC will be given a new IP. But as soon as I go for the 5th one simultaneously, since the previous are being pinged, you will see that when 4 PCs are sending their traffic and we go for the 5th one, the 5th one won't be able to translate. And that's because this is the drawback, that whatever number of IPs we have in our pool, the maximum number of devices that can send data or receive data is the same number. For example, in this scenario we had 4 public IPs, so only 4 devices can send and receive data at the same time, and the 5th device will have to wait, and then after a passage of time, when the previous IPs will be freed, these PCs will be able to, just like now, that since the IP were released, now it can send data. But before that, when all 4 were communicating at the same time, we were not able to do that. So obviously this will create a problem which will be handled using dynamic NAT overload, or which is also known as PAT, and we will cover it in our next video. So until then, take care.